Hey, buddy.
Hey, where's my camera? Hello.
I think it's down at the bottom. This is always the fun part at the beginning. There we go. Look at you. So professional, man.
Oh yeah.
Look at you. You got everything.
Oh, come on now. I'm professional. I can make the sounds and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm all set up proper.
Why are we not doing this on your channel?
I don't know. You never told me. I am paying for the Zoom too.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody. My good friend Artem Taranenko, my very favorite Russian. That even more favorite than the great Vitaly Larratt, we were borderline there for a while, but
I got the way back.
Yeah, after your performance in the top eight, bottom eight, and the way you always help me out when I come to Florida, this guy is the man. He's the man, everybody. And all his links are down here, so all that stuff. But hey, buddy, you got a big match coming up.
Oh yeah.
So how did this thing even get?
See, I don't know. I think Jamie will think it's a big match. For me, it's just like walking apart. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know. I don't really know who will consider it a big match. You know, like there's a controversial over there.
Well, hey, he's a WAL superstar, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, he looks good. He's jacked. I mean, I'm losing a couple of stats there, but other than that,
he owns a supplement company. What do you got going on?
I have two beautiful corgis, and that's all I got.
What corgis? Who's corgis?
My two dogs, my cardigan corgi.
Oh, you got two dogs.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, what should I rather have? Two beautiful dogs or the supplement company? I don't really know.
Being a dog owner, I think I'm gonna go with the supplement company.
Well, see, you don't own corgis. You know what I'm saying? You're not in the same conversations as I am. So there's a little bit of difference there. So I don't know.
Well, before we get on to, the interesting stuff that's going on in your life, a lot of people on here are, people are looking at Stake Kings, they're looking at ArmBet, and they want to know right from you, are you going to win this match?
So let's be clear and honest. When the first a message during the Stake Kings thing, I want to promote the match and all that, but am I even gonna show up? Like I gonna have no plane ticket. The whole deal went south in the tournaments and shit, and I'm like, and then my shoulders start hurting. I don't know if people should stake for me. I got messages, hey man, I seen you in staking. Be honest with me, should I stake in you? And I'm like, give us a day. Give us a day to let me come back. Let me touch somebody. I don't know. But now that I actually been in the gym for as long as I was, and I did all my homework and started doing all the things, I'm in much better shape than I was 2 weeks ago. So I'm confident that I'm pretty safe bet. I'm a little lighter, but I am a safe bet.
It's on the 7th, right? Is it the 7th or the
7th? Yeah.
The 7th, and it's a UAL event, right?
It's a UAL event at basically John Zhang's hometown, kind of. Not a hometown, but it is in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay. Who's running the event? Who's organizing the event? Where can people watch it?
So Bill Collins is organizing the event. I am their official media guy. So any footage of the tournament will be on my channel. The actual super match going to be live streamed on my channel unless there is a problem with the internet. Other than that, if there's no live stream, because who knows what type of convention center setup we're going to have, the footage of the thing going to be on my channel regardless. So if there's no live for any reason, you will see the footage one day on my channel within 24 hours of a match. Other than that, I should have the live stream for the match at least. So
3 out of 5 right hand.
3 out of 5 right hand.
UAL, so that's UAL rules. Is that like
UL rules are like the same as WAF, really, except there is no ready go. It's don't move, go. Right. That's kind of the only difference, really. Other than that, the rules are the same.
Have you ever pulled him?
I've touched Jamie on the side table one time, like a couple months ago in Kansas. And the funny thing was I was heavier than him, actually. Like I was like 195-ish and he was 185 for that class or whatever. And I mean, he thinks that on the side table I felt incredibly strong and he can take my top. I felt like there are some holes here and there, but yeah, we never really like had an actual like match to where even on the side table, right? We kind of gripped up a little bit, kind of like, okay, I'm a little bit stronger here. So there's no like, I mean, there's not like a footage to us like pulling, like, oh, well, yeah, he beat him that time or whatever. So yeah, we never really pulled. Like we grouped up one time and that's it. Yeah, so it's kind of
very interesting. Very interesting.
I remember years ago, I was trying. Remember when WL was taking off and they were looking for people to do, what was the guy? Scott Warren, right? He was the one that put in all those crazy qualifiers at the time, right? Like big side. Well, Scott Mendelson beat, Travis Bajan and shit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a part of one of those, and we were wanting to come, and I'm like, but at the time I was like, a bum. So I was like, hey man, like I'm Mr. Scott, like I want to come and pull, like who can I pull I want to pull Jamie, because Jamie at the time, Jamie was always like this top kind of in the top playlist of the lightweight guys, right? Some people place him on the bottom, some people place him on top, but he's always in the conversation, right? Like I want to pull him, and he's like, well, do you have some money? And I'm like, and at the time I legit had no money, right? I was living worse than paycheck to paycheck. There was no money for me to give away to an arm wrestler, right? Even though, like, I'm never gonna bet the money I simply don't have. Even I think I'm gonna win the match. I'm like, well, I still have to keep in mind that I might hurt myself or some shit, right? I need to have the money. I didn't have it. Scott was like, well, for $250 you can pull Jamie. I'm like, I'm okay. I'll wait. One day Jamie will want to pull me for 250. And the day came. All I had to do is send the message like, yo, Jamie, I will be on the border of your state. Do you have the balls to show up on the 7th? And Jamie said yes. So there we are.
Incredible. That's just great. It's a big match. Could be on a WAL stage, but here we are doing it in Scottsdale, Arizona. Scottsdale.
Yep. That's right.
So great. Well, I'm still undecided. I might. The thing is historically, I've always bet against Jamie, and I love Jamie. I think Jamie's a fantastic.
He said it last night. You're gonna bet me. And I'm like, I know that Devon will pick me sometimes, but I don't think it also ever worked with him. So I don't really know.
Yeah. Well, normally when I bet against Jamie, he ends up kicking ass. So, I'm really torn.
You should bet small amount of money for Jamie and bigger amount of money on me. So so he's still gonna lose. Like he's gonna work against it, and
do a little bit of hedging, right?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like just to make sure I've been on all aspect of like spiritual levels.
That's important. That's very important. I've found that sometimes people can get very, very offended, especially if they're friends of yours when you bet against them. Very offended.
Oh yeah, it's really hard for me to always look Chance in the eyes because I always bet against Chance, and I'm not a better really. Like I want to analyze in my head. I'm like, okay, this and this makes sense. That's why I do, and that's why normally, for the vast majority of times, my stakes are just as good as Ryan Bowen's. Right, my bets are pretty accurate all the time. I have failures once in a while, right? Not as big as yours, but I fail here and there. So, but with like again, like Chance and John Mazang, right? I bet against Chance every time I lost money, right? So now I just want to bet for Chance, right? But then I analyze the match again. I'm like, well, I mean, fuck. As far as my head goes, and me breaking down the match, I don't see Chance winning again. So I'm torn. Like I don't really know.
Isn't that funny? How some people you just always seem to bet against them. It's funny,
Yeah,
right?
it's like I just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just weird. Like I want chance to win. I'll bet my money on chance because like, I'm tired of losing money. But as far as I'm breaking down the match in my head, I
Right.
kind of don't see him winning it unless he's just that much stronger, right?
I think that happens when a guy is rising, right? It's like you have him here, but he's actually here. And then when the next time you bet he's here already. And then he like
Uh-huh. But oh, hold on, Devon, your audio disappeared. Yep. Oh, here you go.
can you still hear me?
Yep, now I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I just got a call through there.
Yeah, I hate when it happens. I remember I called you like 15 times and you never answer, but then you called me back. And then I seen you post a video of you like in the parking lot with Matt Mask. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I called him 50 times for ruining his whole video setup. So I
But,
learned how to turn my shit off.
yeah. And just so you know, my messenger never works. Never.
Oh wow.
So if you're calling me on Messenger, it's not gonna work.
Oh. I have your phone number, so like I feel like I can avoid that issue. I'm trusted enough in life to where I got the access to phone numbers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Rated.
Okay, so tell me, because I don't think I've really ever talked to you about this. Tell me about what it's like to move to USA. How did that even happen for you?
Okay, well, see, I happen to be like kind of lucky, right? Because I didn't do anything. I did not went to like I want to change my life and want to be better. Like, no, I was just a fucking kid, right? I was 17. My mom was trying to move all our life, right? And I guess I should start with my grandma already lived in US since the 90s. And she moved here because, she lived where we lived. We from Siberia, Russia, middle of nowhere. Kind of everybody moved there because there was work. And kind of that's what motivated everybody, right? Like my grandma was living there, whatever. Got to, work and travel program, got to America, came to Florida. She stayed here and was like, you know what? Like, why the hell would I come back? So my grandma just kind of said, "All right, kids, like holla, I'll see you on this land one day." And grandma stayed here. Eventually, were helping us to move here in a legal way, and it took a long process. But basically, all I had to do is to show up to some interviews, like when I was 17 in Moscow, and they're like, "All right, you approved. Here's the visa. Like you go." Like I had no real intention. My mom was like, well, here's the thing. You either stay here or like, which you can't really stay here, right? You pretty much a minor or you come with us. So like, I had no choice. It's not like, some people expecting like a story of like, I was struggling, which I was, but like, I was too young to do some life changes. Like my life just began, right? People ask me to compare how do you stay the living here and there. I don't know. Like I was a kid going to technical college to be pastry chef. I would think I'll be slinging pastries for the rest of my life, right? I was over there training in the arm wrestling gym, like 5 by 10 foot long, watching Devon Larratt. It's like, yo, these guys are fucking cool, right? Like in the middle of nowhere, right? And then next thing you know, but it was a long process for my mom, as I said. My mom was like, well, hey, we go to America. Only questions I had is like, can we buy me an iPhone? Because that's like, because we were so poor, right? I had my phone was black and white and shit. This everybody over there, working on smartphones, and I'm like, and she goes, iPhone, like, no, we're going there to work, and I was like, I was like, huh? Like, I cannot get it because that's why I can compare. I was doing some summer jobs, but mostly I was still a kid going to school, going to college, doing whatever, and now here I am learning English, trying to find a job, getting a driver license. I'm getting all this shit hammered in me. Like I came from being a kid to like, hey, it's time to grow up within like a month. I'm like, oh, okay. So no more graffiti for me, I guess, right? So like, and there I was figuring it out. So that's kind of how my move went, right? So
that was at 17.
yes, so I just turned 18. So my birthday's in March. I turned 18 in March, which by that time we secured all our documents. So I kind of could go, right? If this thing happened like a year after, I could not go because I will be already over 18, which you're an adult, you're not a minor. I couldn't even go. Like if my mom wanted to go, she will have gone and I'll have stayed here, right? Or I don't think she'll do it that way anyway. So yeah, I just turned 18 in March, April, May. So month and a half later, hey, we're going. So we were going to Florida in May of 2013. So all of a sudden, like I came from being able to buy cigarettes and beer in Russia to now wait another 3 years. Not that I really had to, but like there's the age difference. So that's kind of how it was, right? I didn't do much, but it was still a tragic change in my life, right? It's just whole another language, whole other expectations, because I really know what I'm going to lose my life anyway, right? I didn't know I'm going to be talking to you, right? I was watching your videos, not understanding a single word you're saying back in 2013, thinking like it's crazy, like I'm in the middle of nowhere, right? And and here I am, being able to do this super cool things, right? But it was a change, right? So
do you ever go back and forth still?
I have never came back because of it's first it was monetary issues, right? Like I never had money, $1,000 for the plane ticket is a little steep thing to do. Now I think nowadays I can afford it, but I could not go because of the documents, right? My Russian shit is expired. It's kind of a hustle and money to get it back to work. So I just waited 5 years to get my citizenship. And now that I'm a citizen, and the first thing I did, I got a passport, so I can go to you now, right? And as soon as I got my passport, everything crumbled, and so now I can finally now go anywhere, right? I finally got the ability there to work. I guess I can afford to go places. I can afford to go back. I have documents to go back, but everything's kind of closed. So I'm willing and I want to go. So I want to go somewhere, right? Like at this point,
I heard that Igor Mazurenko wants to put you in his next promotion.
Does it? Did you hear that? All right. I've heard.
I heard he wants to hire you as his cameraman, as general promotions guy, just general promotion of the PAL brand.
Oh my god! Oh my! I remember I was just telling you the story to somebody. When WL just started, right? In like 2014, 15, those big money tournaments and shit. It was huge, right? And at the time I was already here, watching the shit go down and stuff. And I was promoting it big on my Russian channel, right? I was not big on Facebook and stuff. I'll go to my Russian groups. I have my own following there, whatever. Everything was in Russian. And what I like to do, I like to translate everything WL does and put it on Russian channels, right? Somebody has to promote it, right? Somebody have to do it. It might as well be me. So I'm over there like, hey, there's this tournaments in America. They have like $10,000, So I'm not doing anything but translating and letting people know. I'm raising awareness, right?
Yeah.
Igor and Kirill were convinced I am number one WL guy. Like I'm in the office. I'm the office of WL, right? They keep messaging me like, hey man, you work for them. So like, can you like talk to Steve? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I just translate shit. Like, well, you promote them all the time. I guess I promote them, but I guess translating stuff. There's cool stuff to say, right? $10,000. Devon Larratt is there, like Dave Chaffee. Like it's crazy, right? It's such a info news type shit, right? It's huge. They couldn't wrap their hand around it. They were like you're promoting it. I'm just telling the news, and the news are awesome. So they were like, "You're WL guy." I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. But hey, can you do? They were starting as American Arm Fighter. They're like, hey, can you do this for us? Like, can you do the same shit you do? I'm like, oh, you want me to translate your posts and post them? Yeah, sure, I can do that. I start doing that. I'm like, hold on, what am I doing exactly? Like at the time, they didn't have no information. There was no money. There was like big entry fees and tournaments. I'm like, guys, like, I guess I see why you don't understand because you guys not doing the same things. People involved and they like what I'm doing because WL had cool news and like there was shit to talk about. You guys had qualifiers for $70 an entry fee and like there was nothing too. Like it's just some crazy. So they thought like,
Not really the same level of newsworthiness.
yeah, like I'll promote anything, I'll translate, I'll post whatever, but like if you don't have the news, I can't do that. And another day, I guess our wrestling discussion group, Igor got blocked by.
Oh yeah. Oh, hey, that new headline is.
Oh my.
Dude, every time I open the group, I'm dying. Every single time, I'm like, oh my god.
And I'm like, and I didn't mean the picture to be any derogatory, but like the group called Arm Wrestling Discussion, and there's Kirill and Igor, like their representation of Arm Wrestling Discussion. It's so awesome. It fits.
I love it.
It fits the group. It fits the group. I love it.
So great. It's
as soon as I saw the picture, and I'm like, cover photo right there. So I blocked Igor there because Igor kept posting something nobody can see because he blocked. So I blocked him for a good reason, pretty much, right? Because he was like making no sense in the group. And I guess he raised hell in every single person's messenger. I got people from Sherman. I got people like, hey, like, you know, like we need to be in this group. You know what I'm saying? Like we're trying to promote this thing. And I'm like, and the people like start referring this to me. And I'm like, well, I have no problem returning dear Igor back. If he feels like he can help the group, I feel like we can use his help. Igor has credibility of everything in the world. All he has to do is to message me and we can talk it out. Just, you know, just message me hi and block me. I'll do it in a second. Because, you know, they're trying to say like Igor needs to be changed. He needs to be more apologetic, be nicer to everybody. They're trying to come up with brand new Igor, right? I'm like, well, brand new Igor can talk to me and I'll unblock him within 5 seconds. Doesn't matter what he say. They screenshot the message, sent it to Igor. Igor replied to no.
Oh, wow. So he didn't want to extend the olive leaf or branch or whatever.
Nope. I'm like, hey, it all takes just one message. I did nothing bad to the guy, really. Like we got in an argument one time on the internet. Not a big deal. I do it every day. I used to do it every day. I'm much better and positive person now that I have Lindsay in my life. She tries to, you know, the woman in our life tend to make us a little bit better, right? Nicer, right? So I'm less dickhead than I was. I'm all willing to apologize to Igor for everything that he think I did wrong, for everything I think I did wrong. I gave him the opportunity. He said no. So there we are.
Well, I'll never forget my trip to Florida with Andre and all that. But I think that story is actually on your channel somewhere, so we won't talk about it here.
No. If you want to talk about it, it's great because I actually want you to talk about it because you represent me in that room so well, right? I remember walking in the house and you're telling the whole group of people like, so there's this story of this, like, it's amazing. I think you should tell the story. Like, it's a good thing to, like, there's so never enough of that story.
So fate made a very interesting set of circumstances. It made Andre Pushkar and I both be in Florida, not too far away from each other at the same time. I don't know, what was it, 2 years ago or something? And I was down there for the Spartan Wellness Magical Butter kind of collaboration, and they set us up in this really sweet kind of party house. And, you know, we couldn't have too many people, so I contacted you, and I'm like, hey, buddy, can we bring by a couple people? I'm like, we need to keep it a little bit hush, but and I put you in charge. I was like, you just handle it, buddy. And now I don't remember exactly how the Andre part came in, whether did Andre go through you or did he go through me? How did that work?
It was all on you, right? Because I never contacted Andre before. All I knew, I kind of almost did nothing. I brought a table and kind of Chance and the Swedes knew about it.
Yeah.
People in the area. And you kind of called me like, hey, Andre is coming. You called me and told me that.
Right. Okay. Now I remember. So somehow, I think it maybe was Andre's sister. But I kind of let it leak out that I was in Florida. And so anyways, Andre and I started talking. I'm like, yeah, come on up. And he's like, yes, I'll come. And I was like, oh my God, Andre's coming. And then, and Andre was like, he's like, everything is okay, but only one concern. He's like, the whole time I'm in USA, I can see anybody, I can do anything. just one person I cannot be in the same room with. And I'm like, who's that? And I was expecting, like, I don't know, Steve Kaplan, Travis, I don't know.
Some name you've never heard of before.
Artem Taranenko. And I was like, what? Artem? I'm like, you can't be in the same room with Artem? He's like, no, Igor does not allow. And I'm like, listen, I'm like,
there's a problem.
I'm like, he's a great dude. I'm like, let's just figure this out. And he's like, cannot. He's like, I cannot do it. I cannot be in the same place with Artem. And I'm like, okay, well, what about if he's there and there's just no filming of you? And he's like, okay. So something like, my memory's terrible, but basically he was counseled by Igor not to attend anything where you would potentially be. Out of all the people in North America, you were the public enemy number one.
The
Thought that was funny. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of sad too, because I've talked to Kirill like the next day, because like actually I didn't know I was that important or not important, right? But I messaged Kirill like, hey Kirill, like I know your body has like a little bit like of issues, right? Talking about Igor, but like you know me that I'm cool, right? Like you guys didn't have to do what you did, right? They still wanted to get some footage out of you guys, but I'm like, I was there. Like you guys could literally ask me, hey, can you get us this footage so we don't have to deal with this phone stuff from Andre, right? It could have been a lot cooler than it kind of was, right? To where, I mean, they didn't want to see you guys pull anyway. They want to see that what you guys kind of feel. But I'm like, yo, I was there. Like, how's it you have to be so negative to like, you just can't tell me like, hey, can I get me the footage of that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was so, I found it to be weird, but I didn't find it too surprising, but it was it was a wild thing. Like out of all the people, like you were right. Like okay.
I wonder, did Irina Gladkaya get the same news?
No, because she's not a PL person, right? She's not like, you know, I mean, Pushkar was just always under Igor, right? Because he had no choice, right? I've heard rumors, which, you know, I don't really know how ethical it is to say that he, you know, he wanted to be in WL at some time, but he simply could not, right? Because all these guys in Europe face the same problem. If they're against Igor, they eventually kind of shutting the doors down because they're really lazy at what they do. Like they don't promote themselves. They just kind of hoping for Uncle Igor to invite them to some Zloty, make some articles, blah blah blah. So if they're not with him, they don't they can't be in WL because WL proven to be scared of everybody. It's not consistent, right? And Igor, despite how much things he've done, said, and whatever, he has one, you know, thing on everybody. It's consistency, right? He has this thing been going on for years. Love him or hate him, he've done things and he's consistent about this, right? And you know, even though he did done some shady things right here and there, but he has the consistency, he has the tournaments, like, you know, whatever. So and if you're not the guy that's like you that can generate income from doing something else, not rely on the promoter, like you kind of, you know, I mean, you need Igor, unfortunately, if you don't want to do anything. But that's what I'm trying to change. That's why I'm trying to do the things. We pulling up projects to make sure everybody try to promote themselves here and there, right? Because we have so many different characters, but they're not really worth anything.
Yeah.
We're changing that.
Any truth to the rumors that Irina Gladkaya is looking for a green card? Is she still here?
No, she left. Oh.
I was hoping that some young Floridian.
I did not talk to her like you know, to a degree, like at all. You know, we just kind of talked. We gripped up to the table. I'm like, I made my assumptions, and I kind of left it there.
Very.
Yeah, so that kind of, I guess I needed to feel that because it was interesting, right? I never really gripped up this like Russian woman before that level. You know, I mean, I'm too spoiled to pull with Sarah, so it doesn't get better than that. But I was curious to see what it feel like.
And what do you think?
Oh, I don't really know if I can say that. I don't know if I can say that. I think Sarah will want to hear that. and Sarah doesn't know what I felt. uh, if you
So
want me,
Sarah, I mean, Sarah's on a different level too, I think.
yeah, Sarah's different level, different weight too. It's a little different, and there's a gap. In what
Yeah,
way? Who knows? But there's a gap.
yeah, sure. I don't think that anybody would pick Arena Gladkaya over Sarah at the moment. I mean,
I just looked at the poll. There's a. I'm gonna plug in some random page. There's this page on Instagram called Arm Wrestling Quest, and all they do is arm wrestling questions on
oh
stories.
yeah,
Yeah, and there it's a cool concept. It's stories and there's a polls. Right? There's just polls constantly. And one of the polls today was who is better, like Sarah or Irina. I think it was who's Topple better, which I guess kind of narrates in a different way. But I think Irina wins that so far in that poll.
where is that? Did you say is that Instagram? No.
Instagram, the page called Arm Wrestling Quest. I think I don't know who made it or whatever. I just know they follow me and I seen it today. I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay.
And all this just questions. Well, I mean, how easy can it be? It's awesome. It's awesome concept.
Now, I was hoping that you had gone to Russia lately, but I should have known because I am always so interested in the difference of level or perceived level. Like every time I think of Russia, I think that like if you go to Moscow, like if you're a national champ, like you go into the local club and there's like 10 guys who can beat you. Like that's what's in my head. Like when I think about the level in Moscow, the level in Russia. Like, I mean, you were a kid when you were over there, but I've heard rumors, and I mean, I haven't been to Moscow yet, but I heard that you can go to Moscow, and just in the city of Moscow, there's like 80 different clubs.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to think about it. Moscow is a huge city, right? And it's actual city, this bunch of people in it anyway, right? It's a huge place, and I think I don't know what comparison is, but like, isn't like there's like 10 New York cities can fit in Moscow, right? It's something stupid. It's huge, right? The subway system is big, like it's amazing, right? It's just and it goes and goes and goes, right? I've been to the subway, it's crazy. So yeah, you can. You know what's funny? I've been to Moscow twice, and I already liked arm wrestling, and I like graffiti. I
Ah,
I abandoned everything. I didn't go to Red Square. I stayed like 5 minutes from Red Square. I didn't go anywhere. I went to graffiti store. Went to graffiti store, bought paint. Was happy as a motherfucker. Never went to practice. Never went anywhere.
here's the plan. Here's the plan, and let's make it very vague, okay? Because it's too much crazy stuff going on. But I really want to go to Moscow.
Well, I told you about it. I told you
Yeah.
like me and you should go, right?
Yeah, let's plan a trip eventually. Moscow, we rent, and maybe we bring a couple people with us. Maybe you can bring Lindsay, and I'll bring Jody or whatever. Bring a bunch of people. Rent like a house for like a month and a half or something, and basically, like use ArmBet or whatever, arm wrestle in like every club in Moscow in a different night, and do graffiti in the subways. Okay?
That's
All
not
over the place. Graffiti, we'll do graffiti, arm wrestling, and we'll just get massive. Yeah.
perfect. That's good. And I think because of who you are, I think we don't have to pay for food for the whole month and a half. I think you're just gonna go and like you're gonna get massive
Perfect.
easier. Like, but
Perfect.
I was thinking a little different. But you're right about Moscow. It's one of the plans. I was thinking we go to Moscow, get into some car, and drive to South Russia, where the level is way more.
Yeah. That's Ossetia, right?
Yeah, that's where the culture is different. Now you see a whole different landscape. You see whole different people that look different, right? It's just like
Yeah.
the culture air is different. Everything, the food is different, right? All of a sudden, like you're not in Russia because it's historically not Russia, and levels like of clubs that you see is like there's like club ever because historically people think of Russia as like this it's all made for the sport, but there's always a reason behind it, right? The crimes in those southern parts are so high because people don't really know no better. The terrorist level is kind of high there too. So they want the kids off the street. So they pour money They pour big amount of money in sport complexes with everything you can imagine, right? So make sure the kids are not doing dumb shit, so they are over there wrestling, right? So arm wrestling is part of that. So that's culture's different. So yeah, it's not a bad plan. I've told you about it many times. I finally got it. My scare always was that you will go to Russia for the first time without me. So
we're going.
Passport. I got my passport, so I'm waiting for your plane ticket so I can match it.
Yeah. Well, I was really close before.
You were.
Yeah, like I was with all the COVID stuff, I was really trying to get over. I was either going to go to Georgia or Moscow, but it just got so crazy. I was like, I just need to wait.
Yeah, because me and you talked about it, and you were like, yeah, I'm planning to go to Moscow. I'm like, yeah, cool, let's go together. And then like you were talking about like a week and a half away, and I was like, oh, I don't have my passport next couple months. I guess we'll go next time. But yeah, I think it's an amazing idea. And Moscow will be easier though because people speak English for not the most part, but for the some parts, right? But it's not going to matter because you're going to have me.
Maybe Moscow like training camp ish. Not that it's going to be a training camp. It's going to be like it'll be tough, and then
you can
go
sleep
to Ossetia for the finale.
Oh yeah, but you can stay at Dennis's gym. Did you see that thing? This thing's huge.
Dennis has got his gym now. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's our home base. That's the home base.
And it's near Moscow. It's outside, you know what I'm saying? So it's perfect. We kind of outside of the traffic. We over there getting massive natural way, and then we go to Moscow and hit the clubs.
Perfect, man. I'm telling you, that's the plan. That is a hell of a plan right there.
Well, also since you mentioned the levels, what I kind of like and not like in Russia, there are legit levels, right? It's not like if we have assumption levels, like if we have state levels, state champions, nationals, whatever, right? But like our shit is all loosey goosey. So like, what does it really mean to be a national champion, right? I think in Canada is different because you guys have one nationals, right? So maybe your nationals, I don't really know, but your nationals could be like a crazy thing to where like if you're Canadian national champion, you may be like a bad dude, right? To where in America you might not have ever arm wrestled before, right? I've seen those guys that never seen a table come win nationals to their first day. So America doesn't really mean much. In Russia, they don't really, I mean, they can care, but they don't have to because they have levels, right? They have degrees, they have little paperwork things or cards that has either, I forgot, it starts with like junior level, junior 1, 2, then you go to contender to master of sport, then you go master of sport, then you go international master of sport, then there's something else, and there's elite, right? There's levels to it, right? And that was cool back to A1 days. In Russia, if you're a Russian athlete, you cannot participate in A1 if you don't have your master of sport degree.
Oh, wow.
That is their level. And doesn't mean that the guy under master of sport is like a bomb. He could be a badass dude, but for you to get those paperwork, those little cards, the tournaments you go to have to meet many requirements, right? It have to be somewhat official event, have to have an official referee. You have to win your class, and your class must have at least certain amount of people in it, right? And only that case you can get next level thing, like little title, right? And you can't even get it if let's say you pull 10 guys and none of them had that paperwork already. Like, because if you can score a win on master of sport guy, you can get some paperwork out of that, and that will help you to get, that's kind of how to determine your level. So their thing is a little bit more accurate, like to where we don't really know where our people's at, because amateur, pro, whatever. Their thing is so legit, is like, hey, well, what's your level? Like, who can you beat? Like, well, I beat this guy. Well, what is he? Well, he's like, international master of sports. Oh, like, you're bad, dude. Like, that's kind of like, they can actually put you somewhere in the ladder a lot more precise because they have that. But I don't really know, like, it's just funny because some of the people be like asking, because people in Russia don't really know that it's really Soviet thing. I think Bulgaria has it. A lot of country has that, but it's such an old school Soviet thing. They say like, hey, they'll say like some American name, but like, what's your level over there? Like, are you like a master of sport?
Just-
I have that. I can beat this guy at practice. That's my level. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
I don't really know if it's good or bad, but they have that. And that's kind of it was funny that they didn't allow anybody to pull at A1 unless you're that level, right? So it kind of keeps the level of participation higher. It's almost like invite only tournament, but you don't really have to get an invite. You have to be a certain level arm wrestler.
Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's how it worked exactly.
Yeah, and it's not only arm wrestling. It's in every sport. Because I think the Soviet system of, I don't know, awarding your athletes, right? It's in Olympics and everywhere. You can get some money out of it too once you get a little card. If your government of your particular state where you're at gives money for that, you can get some stimulus out of it and stuff. I was going somewhere else with that thing, but I might come back to it. But yeah, so that's kind of how it works.
I've heard so many rumors over the years about they get this much money for a gold medal. This country pays more than that country. And I mean, as a Canadian, as an American, you're just like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, do you have the inside scoop on any of that for any country?
I do have every scoop you want to know. So I'm gonna start. I actually can give you an exact number because I had this conversation with my good buddy of mine, Dmitry Trubin, because I know he gave me an exact number. So the way it works, right? People always want to say it. People want to say it number one as an excuse, right? It's always a great excuse. Well, they get paid. And whatever, but nobody gets paid. For you to get paid, you have to do one thing. You have to actually get that medal on your own money. If you want to start getting paid by the government, if your government pays, first of all, you have to get there somehow. Nobody's paying for a plane ticket to Worlds or anything unless you bring the medal home. So you still have to go to the same process every American kind of has, passed through. You have to go do something.
Yeah.
You have to go bring a medal. And if you don't go bring a medal, nobody pays for you anywhere. Like there's no money happening. So if you happen to be in a government or in a federation that pays some type of money, you have to be somebody. You have to go do some work. You have to go bring home the medal. And if you don't bring the medal home, nobody pays for you. And nobody wants to pay for you anyway, right? No, it's not like you come home from the plane and they just throw like a BMW in your face with the keys and like pack of money. No, you have to go to some bureaucracy, go to some offices, talk to some people. Like, hey, can I get, it's kind of like, it's a process. You have to go talk to people, fill up some paperwork, make sure you're legit, blah, blah, blah. It's not like as soon as you get the medal, you get a direct deposit from Sip Kaplan. You know what I'm saying? It's a process. It's not by country. Maybe in some countries like Georgia, it is a country thing. I know in Russia, it depends where you live because, there's so many regions and states. Each state in the region have their own rules, how much money they have for their sports stuff, right? So that's kind of where it's at. So in some places, they don't pay. Some places you get some chunk of money, but you're not talking big money. So for example, I have Trubin's number, and I'm gonna say them because it's a government knowledge. It's not like I'm exposing them. So Trubin's numbers were this. So in Trubin's time, while he lived in Kazakhstan, right? If you live in Kazakhstan and you go to Worlds, when you go to Worlds on your own dime, remember, we're all starting out, we're going to Worlds, you happen to be your training happened to pay off, right? You won your first place. You go back to Kazakhstan. You fill some paperwork. You get $2,300 for that. So that's
not a lot.
So that's what you get. Second place, 1,800, and third place, 1,100. Plus, so now that's where it gets cool in Kazakhstan. For the Kazakhstan is cool, and not that many countries do that. That's what I'm saying. It depends by region, right? So also, if you do get that first place, until the next Worlds, you are getting paid $200 a month just because you did that.
What is the? So I don't know. Do you know? Sorry, go ahead.
In Kazakhstan, I kind of assume you question. In Kazakhstan, those $200 a month can pay for you. They can pay for your living.
Okay. Yeah, that was my question.
Maybe not too crazy. We'll have to know the numbers because, every time I talk to somebody, people tell me different shit. I've heard from Trubin's coach that there's one girl that wins juniors all the time. She feeds the whole family on those monies. Like, maybe there's some extra sponsorship going on, but it feeds the family, right? For example, I know in Russia, I don't really know the money in Russia, but the money in Russia also not that great. It's the same thing. You get like $1,000 here and there. You might get government support for the whole every month until the next year. But it depends where you live in Russia. I have some buddies. This guy Salavat, forget his last name, but he won Zloty, right? And to where he lives, it's like the same, like 100. It's like $70 to rent a place for a month, right? So you could pay a lot of bills for the $200. Like my grandma, where my grandma lives right now, she moved back to Russia this year. It's like $300 a rent. So that's kind of just to show you the perspective. But I also know some people in Moscow that pay more money than here. So that can get a little crazy, right? Depends on the levels. But there are some smaller places that you can do some livings out of it. But it's not as easy. As I said, I mean, nobody just pays you to go and try. You still have to be the guy. You still have to go and win. So on those excuses, because that's what I'm saying. I think people bring it up as an excuse. Well, they're so much better because they get paid. Well, they're so much better because they got better first. They had to get strong and had to get the medal so they can get something out of it. So that's kind of how it works. So it's not as easy. It's there. I'm not debating it, but things change too. I think back in the days, depends on the country economy. I've heard you watched if you watch iron rating video on Turkey, there's this like Turkish kid showing like, see this like his beamers, the house, everything is arm wrestling, everything arm.
Really?
Yeah, he said nowadays you could not get none of that because the support was in a different level. But he shows everything that he's all came from government support for his arm wrestling achievements. Nowadays, it's not like that. So I think countries kind of cutting up on that. So you can't just believe anything somebody say. Always have to ask somebody. I think nowadays, if you talk to somebody, I think Georgia still hooks their guys up pretty good on a good level. That's why you see like Gennady doesn't want to go to WLs, PLs, or whatever. Like, everybody starts fishing. Some people want to stick to the WF because, your government will only support one federation. So that's kind of, if you see guys sticking to one thing, it's probably because of their government actually takes care of them. So, and I think Georgia will be probably number one country right now. Maybe Kazakhstan, and I don't know where Turkey falls off nowadays, but Turkey used to be the shit, right? You see
Yeah.
people who did that. I think Farid did that. Farid used to be a guy from Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons he moved, it changed his name. I don't know, maybe there's something criminal going on, but one of the theories was that Turkey was just paying those guys like incredible amounts. So people would just switch their nationality quick and go live in Turkey and claim their citizenship.
Well, I've heard Engen say that he believes that he's potentially the highest paid arm wrestler in history.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably at the time, yeah, like with all the how long he's been arm wrestling, his achievements and the support, probably.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know if nowadays is the truth, but yeah, he definitely, if you've been active on all those paying days, for sure. For sure. Loving it.
Interesting the difference between all the systems.
Oh yeah. So I like to put the word out there that it's not as easy. I mean, people open what is it? Is it in Pulling John? It's a big thing on your screen when you're just watching the movie. By the way, those countries, everybody can take care of everybody. I'm like, here goes the excuse.
Yeah.
So
it's neat the cultural differences between the countries. I always was perplexed at the theory of when you go back to Russia and then come back to the States that you're like supercharged for like a month or two, because you still have that, Russian power.
You know what I was thinking, because I was debating, because when I came to America first, my first practice, it's a hilarious story, right? But a long story short, like no English, I ended up in Brandon Morris's house. and it was a party, right? And I was so much stronger than every guy that's already there. And I'm asking them like, what do you guys like? We're like, and some of them like win tournaments and shit, right? I'm like, oh wow, I'm like their future next thing here, right? And I was for a second, but I was thinking what was different, right? Because it seems like I still have the same shitty work ethic. I see, you know what I mean? I still practice. Like, what was the difference? And I think the difference was that as a kid, I was already working out 6 days a week, and three of them, I was at the table 3 times a week, and I never practiced hard, right? I will go to arm wrestling gym Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, let's say, right?
Mm.
Arm wrestle every one of those days, and none of them will be hard, right? Because there will be a coach there. If he sees us like in a hook grinding, like we'll both get beatings, right? So you don't do that. So I was at the table 3 times a week practicing, actually pulling, but not hard. So I was at the table a lot more than your average American, probably, right? If you all practice once a week. So I think that's one of the difference because you see, like, you follow all the Russian guys that kind of show their stories. Vasily guy, the Vesorokin on Instagram, like
Yeah,
this,
love that guy.
yeah,
He's great.
he pulls every day, right? And it's not like there's a practice every day, right? And like, fuck, it's crazy.
Talking to Artem. Sorry. Just everybody just came in the house.
All
Hey,
right.
guys.
So,
Anyways, so you talked. Sorry, I missed the last little bit there. So Vasily.
yeah, so I think if you watch his Instagram, like, and it's true, like, the guys, I think because you've seen, have you been in Russia at all or not at all? You've been in
No, man, I'm still waiting. I'm so excited. I feel like I feel like going to Russia is gonna. I'm not gonna go for a little bit. When we go to Russia,
Mhm.
I think it'll be for like a month or a month and a half period.
As you
Like I
should.
don't want to just go and come back. I want to go and really pull it all in.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
mean, at least you've seen Poland, right? And I don't really know how Poland is built, but Russian cities are built different, right? It's a city, right? Everything closed. It's not like we live in houses, right? Everybody lives in an apartment. The buildings are different. Everybody lives in those blocks, right? So I think the people. So when you go to your gym, you're likely to see another arm wrestler, and they go together every. I don't know, every day, every other day, but there's always a group of people you can touch hands, you can grip up, and I think that's what they have that we don't have, right? Because like we all America is spread out. We live in individual housing, we all spread out, so it's kind of hard to get a group of people in the same gym, let alone practice in the same gym to where you can work on some shit, do your own workout, and go, right? I think they have that, and that's what kind of makes you stronger, right? Like as you said, when me and you go to Moscow, we go to these clubs, we're not going to go to someone's house. We're going to go to each individual gym that they already have 10 people coming in anyway. You don't have to announce it. People are just going to be there. So, and I think that's kind of what I'm missing. That's why I like to have light practices. Like my ego doesn't let me because, you always kind of want to bang. But like, I remember that's one thing that's big different, right? Because you always get some arms to attach. And if you're able not to grind it out, if you're able to just do some work, I think that's one of the advantages that you can spark up and have. So yeah, we're gonna come back and you're gonna beat Levon, no questions asked, and I'm gonna beat Chance like within a month, like that.
Easy day.
Yep.
Easy day.
Right hand. Talking about right hand too. That people are gonna be confused.
So you said that there was always coaches floating around at these gyms and these practices.
Yeah, let's just call them like a guy that been there the longest, right? They're pretty much coaches, right? Because they kind of maybe they're the person that established to have an arm wrestling section there. But yeah, like we always had somebody that's kind of was ahead of us. You know what I'm saying?
And so what did you mean when you said if they saw guys grinding it out in the hook, they'd come over? Because to me, I mean, I don't want to call myself a coach, really. Because I'm going to practice tonight in a few hours, and
Dude.
I mean, I'm one of the guys at a practice. I certainly, if I see something crazy, I'll say something. But I mean, I let people kings move. I let people flop. I mean, grinding it out on a hook is just where we start. I mean, is it the best thing for performance? Depends. Depends.
Yeah, right. It is the thing, but let me see. So I'm in the process of translating this training manual by my coach. It's a big training manual for the beginners, right? It's a whole 1 year of preparation, and he actually breaks it down within the first paragraph, right? The whole thing is basic training programs, but there's like a good 10 pages of like how to get your head straight, right? To where you're not grinding your shit, to where you don't think that, like, you don't believe in certain myths, right? So, and he has a thing on that somewhere. I guess I'll answer it myself, but it's just funny that I actually have this paper that actually tells me the same thing, right? So let me see if I can just get it within a second.
It's fascinating because that was probably my biggest takeaway after pulling Dennis. Like, apart from just being so impressed by Dennis and how amazing he was, probably the biggest takeaway from that trip for me was talking to a lot of the Russian guys and just the culture of, like, they don't go to failure. That's basically what they told me. They work hard, but no failure, no bad position. Everything feels good all the time. And I actually took that and I ran with it. And I've changed. I've personally changed after Russia significantly. In, like, before Russia, I would be going to failure, quite a lot.
Uh-huh.
And since Russia, I really don't. I don't even really hit PRs so much. Like, I don't hit PRs. I don't go to failure. I'm working hard all the time, but they kind of made me understand that it's no requirement. It's not required. It's less beneficial than it is.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I'm gonna, if you break it down, see, I was watching this video the other day, and it's correct. Every program out there, every training system that is made, right? If you're Tadzile and you're West Side Barbell guy, if you're John Zhang that makes fun of what did John call West Side Barbell? East Side Barbell? Well, it was something funny. So,
Yeah. Well,
every training, whatever, even whenever you did your thing with Roman too, like I remember you doing that, whatever training, they all have the same thing in within the self, and it's to be able to have the wave, right? It's a simple
right.
wave. That's where every base, whatever you approach is, if you approach like to be super percentageable and do different things, whatever, they always have to be a wave, right? If you choosing to go to failure, you can't, right? But as long as there's coming down, right? As long as you're making waves and you're not just trying to hit yourself hard every day, you're gonna have progress. But the wave pattern has to be there. Whatever way you want to achieve it, you can work out with the same weights, same heavy weights, but as long as you change your maybe repetition, intensity, whatever, that's gonna be the difference. So I found the quote, but it's just such a long explanation. So I'm gonna still say it in my words, but it's funny that people are going to watch it, and I'm about to sell these programs. They're not mine, but they're from my coach. I'm just translating them. I'm back to translating stuff for people. That's kind of how I make my abouts nowadays. I'm still translating stuff for other people because it's such a great manual, and it's such a Russian manual because the thing you asked me, it's already in this manual, and it's what it's called there, and it just reminds me of the Russian culture. What they have, they practice day, they call it, a day of pulling. The day of pulling is the day you go and you go hard, right? That's the day. They always have their practices. What they call practices are not practices, right? It's literally, it's kind of like what the practice should be. It's just them training. If you want to go hard, they usually schedule 1 day a month. They'll call it a practice day or pulling day, and that's where people out of all those 80 clubs in Moscow try to unite in that one place, and where they actually bang, right? Other than that, you not go outside of your club, you kind of stay within your people and you just train patiently, right? And the thing is, like, that was the thing, right? It's a bigger thing for the beginners, which that's what I was, right? I went to the Russian gym, there was a coach, and the most important thing that when I practiced there the first time, it's like they will not let me to go until my arm hurts, right? Whenever I told them like it's start getting here and there, oh, you stop. I'm like, no, I mean I can go, I'll hold it. No. You stop right now. You go do some go do some wrist curls and go home. I'm like, okay, I'll plow to the snow to go home. That was the thing, right? No, like, hey, how's your arms? I'm like, I have a little pain. Oh, you have a little pain? You go home. So okay, and that's how it was. So every time, I had a buddy of mine that kind of introduced me to arm wrestling. We'll go to the gym. We'll do our workout, and by the end of the workout, we'll go on the table because that's what you should do. Little announcement. That's how we do it in Russia. You'll go work out. You'll do your weights. You'll do whatever you into. Then you go work on the table, and work on the table, literally what it is, right? My thing, let's say, like my manual right here explains it as you should work on your techniques with zero to no load, especially a beginner. You're just trying to understand the move, so the loading of another opponent will just crumble your technique, right? Because all of a sudden you go for the top roll, somebody puts a little too much, you're crambling, you're trying to do some shit, which American way is to just grind it through. In Russia, once your technique kind of broken down, you're not continuing, right? If all of a sudden you're separating, that's where you stop and you go take a rest, right? In America, as you said, like shit, if someone takes your hand, you just keep grinding, right? So, but that's not what we do there. Once you start straining yourself and you're losing certain things, that's where it stops. If you want to go and actually bang, because as I said, I was young. The guy that was my buddy that got introduced me. Like he also wants to arm wrestle, right? So we always get ourselves like, all right, let's this time we'll just go. And like when the coach sees it, are you guys still there going for the full power? I'm like, no,
Mhm.
the moves. I'm like, then why the fuck are you sweating? I'm like, oh, okay, my bad. So there's also control. It's not really it's not like I've been trained by some guys that read a bunch of training books and just kind of a cultural thing. Like you don't get
Yeah,
your technique has to stay precise. You don't
it's
get
the whole culture. It's the whole culture, right?
it. As I was trained by a regular guy just like me. Like the guy that was never really into coaching. There's some people that want to be remembered as coaches, right? Or try to do some different things, right? Just regular guys, like they're just not going to let you to do those things. So that's how it was, and that's why they highlight, even like my manual has the thing that says like that you should not actually, fuck, if I can find, oh, okay, I found it actually. So that's what my coach says, right? So basically what he initiates, your practice should be just practicing on your move. It should not be big actual practice you bang, right? And that's what he says. I consider the big practices to be a very good mean to develop a technique when several arm wrestlers of different level gather in one place and fight amongst themselves. But I strongly recommend arranging such days no more than once a month. Why? Because you're I have to change this thing. It says articular, but because your body ligament apparatus simply will not take out the load that is already great in training, and it will aggravate all those problems that you already have. Because full-on practice requires from you about 100 to 110 loads, right? With percentages, right? You are going hard. You're going to failure on the practice. So if you want to avoid the chronic injuries and chronic pains that you inherit as an arm wrestler, do not practice the full force often, no matter how strange it sounds now. I personally know arm wrestlers who fight only, I need to change it to practice, who practice only in the competitions and quite successfully, devoting the rest of the time only to training without practicing to the fullest. How does he do it? Read the paragraph below in italics carefully. And the pretty much the paragraph next kind of quotes that everything has to be in a perfect technique. Everything has to be in perfect shape, because you much rather bring it to the tournament in a perfect shape. Because if you're training wrong, you're lifting your weights wrong, now on the table you're gonna look wrong as well, right? So that's kind of a Russian state, not maybe a Russian stand, but except my coaches stand on that, which is kind of widely accepted, that everything should be perfect. Your training should be perfect. Your practicing should be precise and very form, and you should not look, the way you normally look at the fucking practice. And that's the stance. So yeah, I mean, I've got some yelling. I know I'm not just making shit up. I've got some yelling from people like, hey, why are you guys going hard? It's not a day, right? Sometimes we'll make it a day, but no.
I think that's so smart. I think it's so smart, and especially smart if you really want to be really, really good. And I think that so much of the arm wrestling culture in North America is just let's have some fun at practice, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a big difference there, you know. I feel like so much of the culture over there is just you do this, you're gonna do it right, you're gonna be excellent at it. Whereas over here, a lot of the culture is, hey man, let's just go rip. You know, it's more casual.
Yeah. And it gets you too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know all the things. I know that I should be practicing my moves, which I'll do sometimes, but for the most time, I'll go and grind some shit out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you just get used to it, right? You just go and grind, but which I've done, but I nowadays I will catch myself. You know what? I am grinding it out here, but let me find somebody of any level that can just not break their arm, tell them not to give me almost anything, and let me work on my move. Right? I'll do that still. I'll try to work on my top rolls because like that's the best thing you can do. If you don't know what to do practice, you find yourself any arm of any level. God, find your mom if you live with your mom, right? Just make sure she's safe. Do 5 sets, 6 sets of like 10 pulls in a perfect technique. There's no resistance whatsoever. Just to build a move. Build a
So
move.
what do you think the best advice would be for Michael Todd?
Oh God, man. See, Michael Todd was a topic in our little. See, my coach does a thing called marathons, right? It's a nice thing. It's possible. It kind of came from social media marketing. Marathon as an idea, because you're not really running, but it's a bunch of people participating in the same thing, right? And one of the things that we did, God damn, that's why I'm gonna struggle with Jamie Sheldon. So here I am with a milkshake. So um I lost my thought completely. So
Being so that's why you do your thing. Like I think you're still on like the way you train. The way you train, like
with Michael Todd. Yeah. So in this marathon, in this group, it's a group chat of 80 people in it. There's 80 people doing marathon. And basically what it does, our coach sends one program for a week, everybody do it and show the results. Sometimes he throws those little tests in there. I love them. He'll pick a really random video like we did with Michael Todd. Is Michael Todd doing his like little cable move, right? And basically the question was really cocky. The question was, why this shit is not going to work for anybody, especially Michael Todd. So our mission was to break down this exercise to where we could understand why this exercise doesn't even work for the person that doing it, right? So, and we broke it down. And I mean, for Michael Todd, a lot of stuff has to be changed for Michael Todd, right? Because he does what he does, but in the same time, like I like what a lot of people agreed on. Like we can't really say what Michael Todd should or should not do because whatever he does seems to work. But in the same time, like that pull shit that he does, like that simply cannot work. Like, you know, I don't care what his style is. I think the whole point of that one exercise that we pick is that Michael does things that he just does them and then he sees where they can benefit him. Where in the real world, when you pick an exercise, you see the problems that you have, and then you pick an exercise for it. To where Michael did reverse engineering, he just did a kind of silly move, and then now people copy that. So yeah, I don't know. I think Michael's in a good path. Obviously, Michael's number one in the world, right? But from just seeing what he does as far as his exercising, there could be some tweaking. There could be some tweaking to make him more. We don't have to change anything that he does, like as far as his arm wrestling, but some exercises can definitely be uh, bring better return of investment, and that's why my stance. Right? I don't claim to be the guy that knows how to train, but I'm claimed to be the guy that knows how gravity works. I know how gravity works. And I'm claiming that because it's a really easy claim, right? I know the gravity works where I take the slider and drops down, right? So if you're doing something that against the gravity and you're thinking you're lifting some shit, I will call you out. I don't care what your programming looks like. That's to each his own. I always try to argue with Todd Hutchings. Todd always goes, hey, if it works for him, it works for him. Like, what do you want me to say? So, and I like this approach. I like your approach too. You're one of the person that, why am I the way I am too? Because you also said that, you're figuring it out, right? You're open to ideas, you're trying to do different things. You're one of the persons that's not going to teach anybody to do something, you're not really confident because you're trying to figure shit out yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at, right? I'm not going to tell anybody how to train, what to do, but if you're doing a shit lift, I'll call you out on a shit lift, because to me, whatever you're into, if you're into different programming, if you're in a short range of motions and you like to do these little things, as long as it works, as long as I can understand there's some muscle work going on, I think you're good, right? But if you're some conventional guy and you do some kind of shit lifts to where your joint works, I can call it out and I can change that. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of
even doing things wrong can still give you some benefit. Like it's
exactly.
I mean, like a guy who's been arm wrestling for 10 years with his buddies, never been in a club, still that 10 years counts for something. Still counts for something.
Well, that's where coming back to what Todd Hutchings said, and then coming back to what my training manual says. My training manual has that exact same quote on that too, which I'm not going to go again through finding this quote, but the quote basically said that, there's many paths that lead to the top. And the thing is, all of them going to lead to the top. It's just one path going to be shorter, one path going to be longer. That's all it is. We're all going to be at the top. It's just for somebody, if he finds a proper way for himself, it will be this much of a path. And the person that does something weird and, wrong, he might still be banging out there, but, the path is going to be this much longer. So it's all about finding things and being honest with yourself, I think.
That's why North Americans peak in their mid-40s.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the style, I think the living is different too. You know what I'm saying? Stress of living, quality of life. That's where it's at too. Because you can still peak at 40. In Russia, it's like 40, you have to be, I mean, you're a retired alcoholic, but it's time you're 40.
Yeah. Two things with the last little bit that you said that I'd like to just hit back on. I feel like North American culture, so many of us, one of our first entry concepts that we kind of start to understand when we're babies, like when we're like just learning about, I can maybe change my body and get stronger or faster or whatever. I think one of the first things that so many of us hear, no pain, no gain. And that's completely not the case in Russia.
Yeah, I just talked to somebody. I was talking to Pablo, right? We were talking about training for a second. Pablo came to my house actually, and we just talked for a good hour. It's easy for an arm wrestlers to talk, right? So, and we were like, I don't know, we're talking about strength training and all that, and like talking about powerlifting, right? Because how powerlifting in Russia, it's very precise as well. And we start talking about college weightlifting in America, to where in America there's one rule, right? It's like you just have to lift it, and any way you can. You have that's all this. You have to grind it out, right? To where in Russia there's no grinding. Like you are grinding, but you're grinding precisely.
And your only big day of grind is the meat.
Yes, correct. That's very correct.
That's your big grind.
Yep. In the many, that's, I mean, and that's kind of been true for me too. Like I don't do 1 rep maxes. I have never done a 1 rep max in whole my life. Like, I mean, like my 110% day, it is my tournament day. Like, what I'm saying? That's in same way. Yeah, for the sports, it is correct. If you don't have nothing going on, you're just picking and you making your own little, breakdown. You go to the gym and you see how much you can lift. If you have a tournament, you train for the tournament. You peak out for the tournament, right? But the thing is, The thing is, in the same time, as much as maybe me and you now kind of maybe talk a little bit down on the ways we as Americans kind of like getting accustomed to, in the same time, we still grow here. So it kind of tells me that, there are still ways to figure it out. We still have, and that's why I kind of saying that's why arm wrestling is a little sad, is because actually Americans elites, it's a perfect example of it, because there's so many people that in most of people, European people opinion, don't have no idea how to train, and they're still on top, right? So, and there's the debate whether they're such a genetic freaks and everything works, and it's like, what if they trained properly, right? Well, what you consider what one call properly, right? So, and I know, I read Russian comments, right? Like people like to post on Russian social media, like Dave Chaffee's lifts, Michael Todd's lift, and they're like, well, god damn, those are top elite guys. Like, if they like they fucking do something that's so much, it should be so much better, right? But that's like, they're already good, but it's like, well,
and the thing is, I agree with that statement. Like, I watch a lot of these lifts and I'm impressed by them, but I'm like, but the lift's wrong. Like Michael's lift that he was posting, and like, it's a scary lift because of the weight. Like, when you're moving 300 pounds in any way, it's like, oh, that's 300 pounds. But the problem with that lift is it wasn't threatening his fingers. And the lift itself was kind of, it was like if you're playing a chess game, like that lift was like way in like the middle or the end of the game. It's not going to help you win like the most important part of the arm wrestling match, which is, height, and, you're protecting your fingers, and,
well, once we broke it down, that lift actually had no impact on his body. There's no impact, because by the time he's under the table thing, it's just his body weight moves. There's no lat drag because he doesn't move his lat. The way the carabiner works, the carabiner doesn't follow the direction of the weight and the vector. So there's no work happening. All the work's happening is Michael dropping his body weight down. So there's no.
Whoa. I wouldn't say that. I mean, if that was the case, the pulley would be attached to his ass and he'd just be sitting down.
Kind of, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, in general perspective, like, if you find where the direction of the move goes, what is it, 5%? Like, I can't really call 5% of work. I'm saying? Like, I want you to work from where the weight takes off to the weight, to all the way till the weights, all the way in the air, right? Whatever you do from point A to point B, I would like to see some type of work done. If I'm only guessing that there's work done, but there's no work done. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I mean, I like, when I was getting ready for Michael, I watched everything that he put out. And when I watched that lift, I was like, well, there's definitely work being done. Definitely there's work being done. It's just, I don't know if that work is going to be in the correct position for an actual arm wrestling match. I mean, for sure, there would be some application. Like, if I was going to arm wrestle Mike and I was like going to grab him low and kind of just try and curl him in, that might be the perfect lift.
Well, you know what? In the way, I kind of found it for myself. If you want to realize if it's a perfect lift or not, and if it's impressive lift or not, try it yourself good 3 times, right? The first time, you're not going to be able to lift anything because it's whatever lift you're talking about, it's going to be new for you, right? Second, third time, your body is accustomed to it, and that's where you control the weight. And I've noticed, if people, for the most majority of the time in North America, if somebody posts some type of impressive lift, it's not that impressive once you try it yourself. Like, that's kind of, I realize people like just try to hide the real feats of strength. Right? I've noticed it's a big thing right now on Facebook. People posting the row thing on the machine. There's like 5 people on my feed posted it, right? It's the little machine in the gym. You put the plates in there and you lift it yourself, right? People put 5 plates on each side and do it with 1 arm, right? And I'm like, fuck, I did it the other day with 2 arms and I could not like lift like 2 plates on each side. But then I tried that with 1 hand. I'm like, oh, well, that's the thing. It's so much easier with 1 hand.
Mm.
That's why everybody posting that shit, right? I've
Ah,
noticed people like to post like Ryan Bowen, Greg Ray. Everybody likes to post that side pressure thing with the wrist range, pulling direct to the side
ah.
and going sideways. I
Yeah.
did it myself. I felt like I was being cheated my whole fucking life because
Well, it's not going to hit your fingers the same way.
wrist range doesn't work, right? It works. It works once you grab it and move it, right? Once you grab the wrist range, you're gonna feel that. Once you start moving, and God forbid you're gonna curl your wrist, the
Yeah.
wrist stops
Ah,
working. Yeah, the wrist range stops working. It's just like, and if you move it, like you kind of open your hand, and depends where you pull. If your pull is not high enough, by the time you finish your side pressure in this direction, you feel no pressure. Like there's nothing happening, right? So the pull has to be high enough to where once you finish it, it still pulls you again. So I'm like, fuck, I've watched so many videos of people moving hundreds of pounds. And I'm like, I've been lied to this whole fucking time. So I feel like many little bit different lifts that people like to show off, for the majority of time, they're not as impressive. But what's impressive when somebody does the shit actually clean and you're like, oh wow, he actually
yeah.
lived that, you know,
Yeah.
Zoloev is a great example of that. Sergey Bogoslovov is a great example of like posting some stupid weights and doing them in a clean way. Like why? Like it's just so stupid. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
And that's what's
I
scary.
mean,
That's what's scary.
people talk about hook training 3 all the time on my channel, like hook training 3, hook training 3. And the thing is I mean, I'm incapable of doing hook training 3 now. I couldn't do it. What's that?
Hook training 3 is the bicep thing. Okay, okay.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be able to do it anyways. I mean, my elbow's too damaged at this point. Like I don't think I could do it even if I wanted to. But I've advanced far enough now in arm wrestling to where my theory is, even if I could, I would never do that lift ever again in my life. Like to me, it's just it's it's good. It's
Wasn't
a
that
good
bad?
lift,
Yeah.
but it's not a great lift for arm wrestling, in my opinion. I feel like if you're doing hook training, you've already lost. You know, like if that is where your ace is going to be, you are already conceding the most important parts of the game. You know,
Yeah.
like stay up high, get your cup, and don't let this turn over. Keep the arm inside the body. That's it. You know, anything outside of those things, like by too far of a margin,
Uh-huh.
you know, if you're training like turned over, you know, when you're maxing, like I understand for rehab and, you know, fluidity and maybe every once in a while, but like your daily grind, well, sorry, I shouldn't say grind, your daily contribution
Uh-huh.
should be precise, exact, and you know really what you want to make your deposit in. And I think we know as arm wrestlers, you win and lose in the center of the table, right?
Yes.
i
Uh-huh.
think I think if you're a good arm wrestler, like I understand that like a guy can dig deep, and if he's a good arm wrestler he can come back from a bad position if they're a great arm wrestler, yeah. But if you're a good arm wrestler who can win in the center of the table, yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to lose a match once you have the control in the center, you know?
Yeah, and you're, you know what? It's that's something that should be brought up more so people will be aware. I'm gonna come back to this manual that I'm translating. It's so funny. It's such a helpful manual. Like everybody should just buy it. It's such a great plug for me. In this manual, it does establish those 4 things, right? Like in arm wrestling, there's 4 main positions that kind of develop your match. It's your stance, kind of your whole overall stance in the table, starting position, kind of where you start, at phase of attack, where you're attacking your opponent, and realization of the advantage. So, which is that kind of doesn't sound like hook, right? Stance, starting position, so attacking phase where you're winning the center, right? Where you're developing, when you're fighting for the center. Once you win the center, it's kind of, you know, in the manual breaks down. So attacking phase is winning that center of the table. And then realization or establishing of your domination, which is a finishing move. So yeah, you are 100% correct over there.
It's interesting when you say establishing the center. It looks like you were bringing your shoulder forward a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, establishing your actual domination, right? It's we breaking the starting position is us, attacking phase is
Right.
us geeking the center, right? It's ours geeking the match our way, right? Once it's our way, our next phase is, establish realization of that advantage, right?
When is this book going to be translated?
Today. I'm finishing
today.
it up.
So can people get it right now?
And people can get it. I gave away 2 yesterday because the thing, it's great. It's for you. I will have to send you the second one. I need to translate, which is the advanced version of it. This one,
I'll take the basic one too. I'll take both of them.
Take the basic. The basic one will be translated, but the whole point is to say the basic ones because it's such a biggest bang for your buck, right? Because I'm evaluating it at about $80 to $100 because it's a 1-year programming. It's not a 3-month thing. It's not a 2-month thing. It's 4 different programs that each one of them is like 3-4 weeks long, combined the whole year, and you have to do one by one. And if you're a beginner, it's put your head in such a perfect direction to where there will be no questions. You're not gonna be in the arm wrestling discussion group. How do I do this? It's the whole manual is super cool. It's 4 programs. It's a great introduction to where like a little bit of hand autonomy there, a little bit of breakdowns, what arm wrestling shit means, just a little bit. Programs, how to do them, what should we do for the whole year. It's awesome. Like, and I'm translating it. I'm finalizing it right now. As I was reading some stuff to you, there's some stuff I need to edit. Well, Lindsay is my proofreader. That's where she's going to be, just to make sure to see everything in the perfect timing, right? But yeah, it's a pretty cool product. That's the only reason I'm kind of agreed to do the thing, because it's product of my coach that he's selling over there in Russia, and nobody in America knows about it except for me, really. And I'm like, dude, it's an amazing thing. It's a training manual. It's a fucking manual. It's not like a training program. There's nothing wrong with training programs, right? I want to sell my training program soon, but it's an actual manual. If you're a brand new guy and you don't know where to start, you buy this thing, which is going to cost you whipping $100 probably, but it's $100 for the whole year. It's like, you know what I mean? That's, how many programs you can buy like that. It's a good deal, and it's fun. It's definitely a good reminder. Like, I've read it just like see if I can translate it. I'm like, fuck, that's the only reason I want to do it, right? I want to translate it. I want to get it to as many people as I can. So that's kind of why I'm doing it.
Super cool, man. Super cool.
Hook training number 2.
What's that?
Hook training number 2. I should, I just wanted to make a video about that one day because I want to break down. It's always been it's a good content, breaking down good lifts like that. Herman Stevens, something like, and I was thinking of breaking it down. I'm like, how can I talk about it? Because it wasn't that bad, right?
No, it's not bad. It's just, I wouldn't tell. I now, like, when I talk about hook training with people, I tell people there's parts of it that are there. It's definitely a good lift. It's not a great lift. It's not like, I would not recommend that lift to anyone. Nobody. Maybe if it was like a certain opponent, like maybe if I knew that they were going up against someone who, I don't know. I'd have to think about who that person would be. But for some reason, like the counter is absolutely this position, then perhaps. And if they weren't skilled enough to kind of, it would have to be some unique person. But I would never tell anybody to train with hook training anymore. I wouldn't do it.
Well, so your perspective is because you think like once you're there, you're losing, right? That's kind of.
I just think that you only have so much energy. It's just limited. Like, I mean, if you could just have all the time in the world and all the ability to recover and adapt, yeah, do whatever. But I think it's very limited, and your body really responds to what you ask it to do. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you're training, I just think that arm wrestling is really about, I think it starts with the hand. I think that the hand is what opens the door to the rest of the body. And people talk about, the hook and the press, and yes, they're massively important, but even those inside moves are so heavily influenced by the hand. If you can't keep your hand up, you're in big trouble right away. Like, it's such a simple thing. Like, whenever I face somebody and I can't control this, I'm in a terrible position. If I'm arm wrestling somebody and I can't get my wrist bent, or I lose my wrist, terrible.
A long day.
It's bad. I'm either in a king's move or a flop. It's terrible. And the last one, if I can't keep my pronation, even then, it's not good, right? Yeah. It's not good. If I can't keep, like, maybe I can dive in there and get that position, and that's where hook training 3 is. It's kind of in a place where you've lost your pronation and you're diving in, and then it's on your arm. But what's better is get your pronation so strong that that's not even an issue. So you bypass that entire chain. You bypass that entire set of circumstances. So it's really, for me, it's those 3 lifts, and it's the ability to supinate and keep the arm inside your body as well. But that's even lesser down. There's lots of stabilizers and grip and thumb and kickback. But I mean, those 3 or 4 things, I mean, if you're not investing, like, in my opinion, like, most of your homework, and I think that I consider it homework. I like table time in good position because it's fun and it's really, you can't argue with it too much. But if you're not doing like this, you go too far outside of that, I'm starting to question.
Interesting. Well, I do like your stance about that. That what you said about the hook. I was just thinking about the whole lift as like, as a lift, like where is the problem there? And I think the problem starts with, in your case, there's almost no problem, right? Because it's, you're staying tight, you coming in, you coming back. The problem starts with people copying that, and they coming back with their body weight, right? And the arm stays there, and they think they're lifting those huge pounds, but they're really just leveraging the elbow. So the lift is very complex. You can do it correctly. You can do it correctly if your elbow stays high, you're dropping down, you're dropping up to where you're still kind of on your biceps. But once you start doing this shit and that kind of the lift defeats itself.
That lift specifically, in my opinion, is tested at the 90, at the parallel to the floor mark. To me, like, the whole, like, I've got a ton of weight on there and I'm going like 45.
Depends relation to your shoulder. It's relate 90 to your shoulder. That's have to be said.
Well, no, because if I'm 90 to my shoulder and I'm here,
no.
And I've got a dumbbell.
I guess I'm saying it. I guess it should be tested to where your arm actually perpendicular, right? To where your shoulder is straight, right? Once your shoulder leans back, that's where the problem is, right?
To me, it's the shoulder leaning forward or back is minor. What's really important is that you pass through this 90 degrees to gravity, so it's going straight down.
Yes.
If you don't cross this plane, like if you come here and stop, you're never going to really receive the full load.
Yeah, but the problem with what you were doing, well, there's no problem with what you were doing, but the problem with a lot of people were doing is they get to that spot, right? That's our good position, right?
Yeah.
Most people do actually this, right? And all of a sudden, once you go here, like the weight, well, people go dramatically towards this. And now, by the time you're here, this looks okay, but the weight is going to slowly go to your elbow somewhere about here because your shoulder is so far. If your shoulder here, I don't care how deep you go in, it's always on your biceps. And that's the important part for me. Like, it's always, something has to work. If over there, your leveraging of your joint, that's where I have problem with, right? When you're not moving the weight with your muscles.
Precision.
Yes.
Precision.
Exactly. The bicep.
Scalpel. Not a nuclear bomb, a scalpel.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a good way. It's a good way to say that. I like it. I like it. Yeah,
Hey, buddy, I've had you on here for like an hour and 35 minutes.
really.
Yeah, this is by far my longest one ever. Okay. Normally I max out at like half an hour. But
Wow.
it's been awesome. It's been awesome to catch up with you. I'm really excited about your match, but I'm more excited when we finally get to go to Russia. It's going to be great.
Hold on. Is that a sign that we should do this more often? Is that a
Yeah.
sign we should have a commitment of us doing this?
Well, how about this? Next time we do it, we'll do it on your channel.
Perfect. But now that you put the idea in my head, I'll have to schedule a date. You can't just go wander around. I'll have to set the date.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, let's schedule a date sometime. I'm terrible with commitment right now. It's hard for me to ping myself down on much, but
I know. That's why I'm just warning you. But I understand. I've been in the game long enough. You don't have to explain it to me. I know what's going on. So I'll think about something. I'll run it by you months in advance, and
it doesn't have to be months. It's honestly maybe a day in advance is really good for me. But yeah, anytime. Like here's the thing. The best window for me is short. That's when you're really gonna get me.
Okay. Yeah.
I know you want a long one. You want to be like in 2 weeks we're gonna have this.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no, it's hard.
We'll figure it out. We will figure it out. I'm looking forward to it already.
It's like I've scheduled one thing. People complain to me that I'm always thinking that I'm just like you, right? I can just go, and whenever I just go, it doesn't work out because I'm not like you. So I have to schedule my shit to where make people aware. One time in my life, I scheduled a thing. Not a problem. I'm always home early. 9 o'clock, I'm gonna go live. Visit the guy, right? Happened to work all the way until 9 o'clock. Hey, this one time I schedule some shit, it doesn't gonna work out. So yeah, I know. Me and you've talked for too long. I know how it's gonna work. We'll make something happen. Maybe I'll convince you to be a regular guest.
Anything's possible, buddy. Anything's possible.
Me and you, 20 minutes a day, gonna criticize people lifts.
That's a funny idea. Actually, that could be a lot of fun. We could become the lift criticizers.
Yeah, you should defend them. I should talk shit, and it's gonna be amazing. You know what I'm saying?
I like it. I like this idea a lot. This is really smart. Okay, well, you already got me. So you come up with a couple lifts, and we'll book a time, and we'll do it on your channel.
Perfect. You got it.
Okay.
All right. So August 7, everybody. See me polish Jamie Sheldon's head to where it's unrecognizable. He'll grow hair after the match. That's how much power I'm going to bring.